2 years ago, Americans watched in horror as a crisis unfolded at the Kabul airport.
She was tear-gassed and beaten.
Images of thousands desperate to escape Taliban oppression filled our news feeds. More than 80,000 Afghans made it to America. But the story didn't end there.
It was very cold. There was no power, no heat.
Who would help our newest neighbors? I'm Andrea Smartin. In Stranger Becomes Neighbor, you'll hear the stories of some remarkable refugees who left their homes and their dreams behind, only to start over from zero.
Their only possession was 3 blankets.
And you'll meet Americans who stepped up to help them.
You want me to come when you deliver your baby.
What can one person do in the face of an international disaster decades in the making? That's Stranger Becomes Neighbor. Find us at kslpodcast.com. Follow us on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen.
So you're half in, you're half out. Your wife's starting to get mad. You're seeing some cracks in the dam. Your alcohol is starting to play a major role in your life. Where does it go from there?
Then it just continues to really take over. And it feels like, to me, and I talk about this in my groups and stuff at Pinnacle, it's just once you get past that point where you, like, need it to feel better, like you just need it just to get to zero, to even go to work kind of a thing, then you don't have a choice in the matter anymore. I feel like I played with it till it was broken. Like I just did it and did it and did it and exploited it, and I can't go back. And I've heard you say on this show, you know, you can't go back to being a cucumber. Once you're a pickle, you're a pickle.
Yeah, you don't get to go back. And like I've said on this, in my recovery, there's a couple times since I've been out, and I've been sober now 18 months, where I wish I could have a beer. I wish I could have a beer at the Padres baseball game when you should be able to have a beer. I wish I could have a beer sitting on the beach watching the waves roll in. But I know I can't. Because as soon as I have one, I know that there's 2 beers to get to the beach, there's 3 beers at the beach, and there's 4 after. And that's just how my mind thinks.
For sure.
And so I just know that I can't go back. I call it a test drive. A lot of people want to test drive their sobriety. I'm not allowed to, because I know where this ends. And that's something I learned from you. I play the tape 24 hours ahead, and I know where it ends.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I could skip ahead a little bit, but it gets darker and darker.
Is your wife drinking also?
She's basically what they call like a normie. She's never, she'll have like a glass of wine and then put the cork back in the bottle and be like, where did the wine go? 3 days later when she looks for it.
It's funny because people they'd say, you drink so much, that's so crazy. And I'd always go, you only have 1 beer. That seems so crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, one of those people is like, I'm gonna put that down. I'm starting to feel it. Like, what? No, excuse me. Yeah. You're doing this totally wrong.
I don't know if you know what's going to happen.
Shh, put it down because you're starting to feel it. Yeah. I'm pounding it until I start to feel it, So she now runs the acting program. We met in grad school. She's the head of the acting program there. But she was kind of a workaholic. I was an alcoholic. It kind of worked, because there was a lot of time that I had alone. There was a reason we were together, and I kind of let her get away with stuff. She let me get away with stuff. I think we were sick together. I don't know if I made us and like my disease made us that sick, or if that's why we were gravitating towards each other. But anyway, we're both better off now, and she's doing well. But towards like my rock bottom, January 5th, 2015, we were supposed to go on a trip with her family. She's from New York. She's from Brooklyn. We were supposed to go upstate with her family. And we actually went to a play, and I'd been trying over that course of that year to prove to her. She'd given me a series of ultimatums of, you drink again, we're done, kind of a thing. And over the course of that year, I put together, a couple months here and there. And, I didn't really know, I didn't have any education for myself of like, if I have one, I'm going to have 25, I didn't get it. And so I kept like getting in trouble. I didn't have any formal training about what I was really dealing with. And so I kept getting in trouble. And then we went to this play in New York on Broadway, and we're sitting there, and I tried to give her a kiss before it happened, and it was just like, I just knew our relationship was over. It just felt so over. And so I kind of like threw a tantrum a little bit, stormed out, and waited for her at intermission, and she never came to look for me. And then I was like, that's it. And I like went to Brooklyn and hung out with my friends and missed my plane the next day, and that was it. And then I came home and was like, we're done. I'm done trying to not drink for you. I'm sick of it all. You've been done with me and not in love with me forever. And so that was okay. And then she left town, and I didn't have to go to work for like a week. And we were, and so then it was like, that's when it was, those days are all blurred together. I hid my phone from myself at one point. I remember just like waking up and reaching for the bottle. And my whole plan was, January 4th, I got to be at work, and I'm just going to do that, And I drank. I hadn't eaten. I lost a whole bunch of weight. And January 4th comes, and I wake up and I get in the shower, and I like the night before I had like a 6-pack of beer to just kind of be cool and go to bed. And then I woke up on the 4th, and I went and got showered, ready, went to the bathroom, and all of a sudden I just got really sick. And sorry, this is graphic, but I vomited blood that morning, and I was just, my whole body was shaking, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was just sick. I hadn't had any real nutrition or anything, any good sleep, anything. And I called into work, and I was like, I can't make it today. There's no way I can make it today. And they were like, no problem. It's all good. We'll see you tomorrow. And this is after having 2 weeks off. And then as soon as I hung up the phone, I was like, I'm going to go to the liquor store. And then I was like, I just threw up blood, and I'm shaking. And the first thing I want to do is go to the liquor store. And then I was like, this has got me, my life's worthless. I might as well just kill myself. And luckily, over that year of trying to prove to my wife that I could stop, I put some numbers together of IOPs and things like that, and never really followed up on them. But I called the first number on that. It was like written on my coffee table in the basement. It was kind of like my lair where, everything went down. And I called, and the lady answered, and she was like, are you suicidal? And I was like, yes, I am. It was the first time it had ever occurred to me. She was like, we have a bed for you. Get here now. When can you be here? And I actually had to go to the liquor store so that I could drive to detox because I was shaking so bad. I had to go into the liquor store, drink some vodka, and that got me there. And then once I was in detox there, then they made a plan for me to come here and go to residential treatment. I went to Turning Point. And then at Turning Point, I saw people being sudsies and teaching these groups. And I taught college as a theater professor and directed plays and stuff like that. And I was like, man, this is a different avenue into teaching. This is a different thing that I can teach. And it feels more... I'm more connected to it. I felt like excited about recovery like I was about acting when I was 18. I was like, oh my God, this is my new thing that I'm going to hitch my ship to. And so then that's basically been it. Then I went to SUDSI school. And
what is SUDSI school? Substance
Use Disorder Counselor. It's just 2 semesters at the U, and then right out of school, Pinnacle hired me. I was the 3rd person they hired, I think. And we didn't even have a lawn back then. It was like, and then I've just been there ever since. They've been really good to me, and I've got to work with people about, addiction.
You're listening to Project Recovery, a podcast about addiction. That's Joel Huff. He's the program director at Pinnacle. We just heard about his rock bottom. Stick around. We're going to talk about what he's doing now, coming up in a minute.
A stranger with a gun came upon two teens taking pictures under a rising full moon. But violence is only the beginning of this story.
Sometimes I thought, there are no miracles. Yeah, there are, and this is a big one.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and I've spent my career talking about how lives are undone by violence. The Letter is a podcast about how lives are remade. Follow The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
So how long have you been at Pinnacle?
4 years.
And you said, was it January 5th?
Uh-huh.
That was your rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
What does sobriety look like for you today?
I still have, I'm coming out of a pretty rough year. We had a premature child January 24th, 2019. It was 4 months early, so we spent 9 months in the NICU.
So you're remarried? I'm
remarried. But now I have a beautiful baby boy, beautiful wife, great job. I'm in grad school. I'm 3 weeks from being done with the formal classes, and I move into like my practicum, and working towards my goal of being a therapist in recovery and working with people in recovery.
What made you want to give back? I mean, I know a little of it has to be, the stage. You know what I mean? I mean, in a sense, it feels that. It seems like even when he was young, he said that, he was looking for that high. And then you found acting, and it seemed at the first part, the acting really was giving you that high that you sought about as a younger kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go through all this, and you go have success in Chicago, and then you got in recovery and got your SUTC, and then it was like, hey, look, I can still use the skills that I have and give back.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what pulled me towards it. It was, I thought, oh my gosh, I can bring some of these theater warm-ups and some of this stuff that I have that helps people break down their walls in theater and in acting and performance, and use those at the beginning of a skills group where we're talking about recovery, and that they'll be more open and willing to take in the information that I'm trying to get across. And I was like, this is something that I don't think anybody's doing, and I got excited about that.
So Dr. Matt, what he's talking about in our process group, sometimes when you get into residential treatment, you haven't made the best decisions. The best decision you made lately is going into residential treatment. But you're sitting around there and you've got people from all walks of life dealing with their own issues, their own substances, and nobody's really wanting to talk, or maybe someone's wanting to talk too much. So he comes up with these games that we do just to loosen people up, just to get their minds thinking different. And we played a game that was called Samurai.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Samurai's a good one. And then Bibbidi Boppity.
Hippity Hoppity. Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
Yeah,
no.
And Hippity Hippity Hop.
Hippity Hippity Hop.
Yeah.
Bibbidi Bibbidi Bob.
But it was cool. And the way he interacted with us, it was like, wow, this guy's teaching us something, but he's just like one of us. He knows. He gets it. And I think that's what really relates with the clients at Pinnacle. I think you really make a connection with them, and we see that you're one of us, and now what you're doing, it gives us hope.
I think
and
one of the
inspiration.
things that you're acting, as you're talking, I was thinking, wow, that's going to be a wonderful skill set to bring into the world of addiction recovery, is that what's one of the biggest obstacles to becoming sober is you keep everything to yourself, right? You guys are talking about that, the tendency to keep things to yourself. But in acting, you're practicing being open. You use the word open. And so, I can imagine that everybody who comes into recovery center early stages, you might be kind of doing the Charlie Brown as you walk in and feeling kind of bad about your life choices. And when you meet that person who can help you open up and not be ashamed and engage you. So I could see how those acting class skills would translate.
Yeah.
One thing I learned from Joel is, when you're reintroducing yourself to society, I guess you'd say. There's a couple schools of thought. There's some guys who don't want to talk about anything they've done. They want to act like it never happened. They've got the skills and they're moving forward. Mm-hmm. I remember Joel in one class saying, for the first couple of years, I introduced myself and told everybody the story whether they wanted to hear it or not. He goes, I just did it because it helped me. He goes, now I'm a little far away from it, so I don't lead with that everywhere. But he goes, right from the get-go. And that's what I do because, my fight's been so public. I've had conversations with people, and you can see in their eye, like, is he going to talk about it? Are we going to talk about it?
Because they know the story before you even talk to them.
Yeah, so they know the story. So I just go, hey, here it is. And so it's open up for everybody to get involved in. Because sometimes people are like, he didn't mention it. Is he trying to act like it didn't happen?
He's hiding
We all know what happened. We've seen his Facebook. We've seen the mugshot.
Yeah.
And so and that's what Joel said. He goes, you got to do what makes sense to you, and that made sense to me, is to let everybody in. And so I've really gained a lot.
You guys are both kind of outgoing performance type of guys. I think most people aren't like the two of you. I think most people are maybe more like me, where we're kind of a little more reserved and quiet and going to keep a lot of stuff to ourselves.
You gotta do whatever's safe. You can't be so cool that like you're at the party and everybody thinks you're drinking and then you're in the garage and there's a bong on the table and at some point you gotta go like, I'm not this cool anymore. Like that, and not only that, that's not cool to me.
Yeah.
But I try to be honest about it before I get to that point where I have to go like, I don't drink alcohol. I almost killed it almost killed me. People die from this. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to have to get to that point, so I can share a little nugget here or there. Mm-hmm. And if people really pry, then I'll share whatever they want to hear. So yeah, it's about keeping it safe, I think.
Tell me what makes Pinnacle different.
Honestly, I think the approach that they have with, I think it's the people that we have. I think it's Eddie. I think it's me. Our new therapist, Brooke, and our other therapist, Alex, the people that are there, as well as the support staff.
Mary Kay, Martina.
All those people, everybody that we have, we really care, and not only like while you're there, but like putting a plan together for you once you leave as well, and the alumni stuff, and I would say that's what really sets us apart. I think the people that are in their roles do those roles really well, and as a team, it just gels super well,
I want to leave you guys with impersonation. Now, normally I don't do impersonations. We just heard Jumpin' Jay do his Tesla impersonation. Give it to it just a little bit right now.
I'm Dragan Milinkovic.
Okay, that's pretty good. But let me see if I can top it.
It's just a dialect. It's not really an impression.
Just go with it.
All right.
So when I'm in recovery, there's a lot going through your head, and you're trying to do certain things, and I'm wondering if I got a job. I'm wondering if my house is getting paid for. I'm wondering what people are saying. And so you've got phone times that you're allowed to use the phone. It's 3 days a week after a blackout period, and you can only use it during your time.
Yeah.
Somehow, I manipulated the system to where I could use the phone.
Surprise, surprise.
So I'm in Pinnacle. I'm down there in the living room. I got the phone. I'm talking to HR here at KSL, just trying to get any information from them. I'm like, am I going to have a job when I get out here? What's going on?
Right.
And the KSL was like, hey, look, just use your time there for what it's intended for. Yeah. We'll talk about all this stuff when it's done. Don't worry about this.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm getting ready to hang up the phone, and Joel comes out of his office. I'm Casey Scott. I'm on TV. Rules don't apply to me. I can use the phone whenever I want to.
Can I say one thing?
That sounds like a perfect Casey Scott.
I just want to say...
I'm nominating you for a Jeff Award.
Thank you. You were a wreck, bro, when you came in. When you came in, you were a mess. And to see where you're at now and everything you're doing, I just couldn't be more proud and honored to be part of your story and see, just what you're doing with it, man. It's really impressive. So
you and Pinnacle are a big part of my story. And the other thing is You're not allowed to sleep in classes.
At Pinnacle?
Yeah. No,
Not mine.
Not Joel's.
Oh.
So for like the first 2 weeks, because you're just coming off this Ragers and all the medicine from the detox and stuff, I would fall asleep in class and just start snoring.
Did he draw a mustache on you or something?
No, man. People would elbow me, Casey, knock it off. And I'd go, and then I go, did I just fall asleep, guys? And they go, yes. But they stuck with me. They gave me the tools. They gave me my life back. And I know I did a lot of the work, but if it wasn't for the help of Pinnacle, I know I wouldn't be here today.
Well, I like your response that it's about the people, and it's hard to beat a good, motivated, positive, optimistic group of folks in a treatment center. And I think that other people we've talked to have had the similar experience at Pinnacle. So I think that's fantastic.
You got to find one that works for you.
Yeah.
And Pinnacle worked for me.
And there will be one that works for you. Mm-hmm. And so you have to stick with it. But, starting with Pinnacle, because it's been good for other people, is a smart place to start.
There you go. Hey, Joel, thank you very much for coming by and sharing your story. You really are one of my most favorite people in the whole wide world, and I love you with all my heart,
I
man.
love you, brother.
All right. Hey, you're listening to Project Recovery, a podcast about addiction. I could talk about Pinnacle, but I think we've done it enough. You're listening to Project Recovery, a KSL podcast.
The contents of this program are for informational purposes only. The program is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed therapist, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this program. KSL does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the program. Reliance on any information provided on the program is solely at your own risk.